Hello, hello, and good evening, and welcome to the altar. Another day, another week. We meet at the altar. The time now is 7:05. Igama lam Bongi wekamafani. Umamqhele buquququ zithonga zithathu. And yami ndoda, obviously ndihamba nayo uThibase kaBhadela unonunu. Good evening, Thibase. I am okay. We started with an exercise, so I'm fine. Yes. I guess the endorphins did help a bit, and to set the tone for the day. And tonight, we are with the gracious lady, a shepherdess, city shepherdess, because I'm going to a shepherdess, Umame Cape, the mother to Umkokoso Obohomfu. Sinozama Kamantini. We had her husband a couple of weeks back, and we are blessed, to have Kaila Kamantini. Secretary 09, King Williamstown. Welcome, Madam.
Thank you so much, Bongi and Tabi. I feel so blessed to be invited to the altar, a sacred space where I sit with my sisters and share the word of God. So thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much. You will hear more from Usizama as we engage on the subject of tonight. And he did apologize to the Born to Lead community kangakwazi ukuba khona namhlanje. Siyazi abantu abakhulu from time to time they are required to be elsewhere at a time when they're supposed to be somewhere, and so he really felt bad. I guess ngabaphulaphuli bakhe, we are parent. He knows that he's mentoring and parenting, so please do join him next week. Born to Lead between 6 and 7 here on Kith Ngesi Radio. Aishishize Ainamida Ihlala Isemgcene, and we are excited to be with you. We trust that you've had a good week. If you've not had a good week, we trust that the Lord sustained you throughout the week. We trust that izinto zihambe ngokwendlela ubucwangcise ngayo. Kodwa siyafuna ukuthi uba ube izinto khange zihambe ziyenzeka Thibase into ba izinto zingahambi ngendlela. Ucwangcise, you set goals, you set targets for the week. Kwenzeke into yokubana kwenzeke isivuthe ungakwazi to achieve what you want to achieve. Do not be despondent. Do not be despondent. Weqinisekileyo is that for as long as bakusaphuma umphefumulo emathatheni akho and you still have the energy to get up and defy elalizwi lithi lala uzogqume, God is still with you. Sometimes it happens that uqonda ndifuna uzogquma ingathi ilizwe liphezu kwam, but we want to say to you that we are here as the altar to give you hope, to a God that is still faithful, And is that throughout life challenges, we leave altars emakhayeni ethu. We don't ignite the altars emakhayeni ethu. Our children bangayazi noba kuthandazwa njani. Nathi if masibasemqumbela uThixo to a point that we don't want to talk to him, But we are trying to say, ekugqibeleni xa sezenziwe zonke izinto, and even in your situation, thank you so much, Anele. We're hosting the daughters. Thank you so much, Anele. Anele. Thank you. Welcome. And the Melo and the little girl Noluto. Thank you so much to the daughter family. We want to acknowledge you, Claire Valentines. Keep setting an example for the young married couples. Keep the banner of love flying high. And tonight, really, the time now is 7:09. We want to engage is that ilizwi malibe relevant to our day-to-day lives. Singalifundi in abstract ilizwi, because ilizwi likholwa into yokubana libutshintshe ubomi bethu for the better. And for as long as our lives do not change for the better, then we need to revisit how we read the word, because we believe that after sesithandazile, after sesenze yonke into, funeka simphulaphula uba uThixo uthini. Xa sithetha ngedepression, uThixo uthini ngedepression. Xa sithetha about so many issues in our lives, uThixo uthini na. That's the bottom line. uThixo yena uthini. And we want to welcome you, whether you are listening to us from Facebook, from YouTube. I know Radio Garden is back now. Many of the apps and our website, Kith Ngesi Radio app. Please go to listen live to join us, or you can even join us here WhatsApp line. And I know that's by technology now. But the WhatsApp line is there. If you want to send a voice note, keep it brief and clean. 066 137 2723 066 137 Siya top runners and we are top runners here. We are top runners. We actually must say a couple of weeks back we hosted Adventist Athletics Club and we made a commitment that we were going to join them, and indeed we joined them. We started a program yesterday with them, health and wellness, and we showed up but we were there, we got our medals. So top runners number 1, 27 minutes 48 seconds. 10 kilometers. 27 minutes. For now, so yes, watch the space, Sanalam. We are coming as top runners, and we want to thank God, yes, for another opportunity. The time now is 7:11, and we are hosting Umamandini this evening. We want to look at something that we rarely look at, really, something we don't pay attention to most of the time. We want to pay homage to our shepherdesses. We want to say to them, we salute you. We want to say to them, siyawubona umsebenzi wenu. Siyawubona umsebenzi wenu. And mhlawumbi, and get a glimpse, Zama, of some of the challenges, not just challenges and successes, because the problem, there definitely are successes of how God has led you. Because in as much as awuthumntu ayakubizwanga mna kubizwe umngqongo, but uhlala nomngqongo, uThixo wakukhupha kwibambo likamngqongo. And most importantly, xa usithi I do, you are saying I do to umngqongo holistically. His personal life, his calling, his mission. So we want to pay homage. So tonight we are going to exactly talk to, but us, we are going to give you a brief background based on a Bible account. Ilizwi xa ulifunda Thabisa iba ngathi udibane nezinto, in fact udibane nezinto ezintsha, and to some texts ubukade uzazi, but ufumanisa uba you getting a different perspective altogether. Okanye ufumanisa uba kukho ivesi which you didn't see the need to read. And when you go to the book of Matthew, I think it's Matthew chapter 8 verse 14 and 15, we see a very interesting verse. When Jesus came into Peter's house, he saw Peter's mother-in-law lying in bed with a fever. He touched her, and the fever left her, and she got up and began to wait on him. Now, this is the first time we are introduced to the fact that Peter has a wife. And interestingly, the three gospels do mention this. The synoptic gospel, your Matthew, your Mark, and Luke, they mention this in Obana Umamaka. And he did not just have a mother-in-law. When she was sick, Peter called Jesus to pray for her. Okay, Peter lo kanti sizaza phe character ka Peter. Kanti Peter lo wayetshatile. But how come we never hear of the wife of Peter? How come we never hear into Bana Peter he was a father, he was a husband? We don't hear that. But now there is something so significant when you search through the scriptures. You discover that this woman was not just a wife to Peter. She was in support of the ministry. She went with Peter to many places, even if Mhlamba to all the places, but to many places. Remember, in ministry, they would move from one city to another, from one nation to another. And Peter Gebona preached at the time when they were converting the Gentiles, bringing them into the truth. Now, but even experiences, because remember, Peter was not born of the gospel, gospel. But interestingly enough, the wife, we did not hear anything about her. Not only was she overshadowed by Peter's presence, she was also overshadowed by her own mother. Such that xa kuthethwa ngomama ke kuzawuthiwa Peter's mother-in-law. Akuzothiwa hayi ngumama kaZama lona. Kuthiwa ngumkhwekazi kaNgqongo. It's Ngqongo's mother-in-law. So that siyazi into yobana uNgqongo lo kanti utshatile. there is uqaphela. I'm pausing for uqaphela. Uqaphela is our new colleague. We've not met physically, but I'm gonna read what he's written. And we always focus on data. Big up, ladies. Siyalibala. Landeta iti behind every successful man is a wonderful woman. That's exactly what we are doing, Q. We are recognizing women who are working in anonymity. You know, but even though they are anonymous, bona imisebenzi yabo is not anonymous. Remember, we've had a couple of women in the Bible, you know, women are known for influence. And more often than not, of man's manner, people are taking it on the negative connotation. You know, when they refer to Eve, you know, and many other. But there are women who had positive impact and influence to their husbands. I remember Queen Esther. Queen Esther was married to you know, to the king, and she risked her life for abantwana bakwaJuda because she wanted to into babasindiswe, and she risked her to a husband who would kill someone called unannounced. But she used her charm, she used her humility, she used her anointing to and the husband listened. Basinda abantwana bakwaJuda. There are many. Sarah was a wife to Abraham. Sarah literally moved with Abraham from one city to another, to a point that ubomi babo, you know, even when they were under threat, Sarah never left. Even when they had challenges, bona as a couple, then had challenges with the family. Remember, there was a time where Abraham, Sarah stayed by Abraham. And for Abraham to be called the father of the nation, of the faithful, you know, and the impact ka Sarah was felt. There was umama ka Samson, whom a message of Samson came through her, and she delivered the message to the husband. Now, these women were of good influence. Yes, there was one lady who was of bad influence, Jezebel. The Bible records her as the, you know, as the most evilest, if you call it in English, oyena mfazi wakhe wakhohlakala, you know, as a queen. She's the one who ran after Elijah for Elijah tabaleke ayozimela uThixo efuna umsebenzisa uElijah, and with, but today we are deliberately focusing on the good influence the women have to our leaders, not just abefundisi. You know, the churches are run by elders. In the absence of umfundisi, who have their wives, and more often instead of you know. Now I want to interrogate Peter's character. There's this woman who's working in anonymity, because I want to believe for Peter to go and preach by this woman, by this woman. The conducive environment at home had to be created, and those are things we don't pay attention to. You know, mentally sound man of valor, environment enjani. What kind of a leader is he? You know, the woman that he is leading rather. And up, we know how Peter was. Peter was a character and a half. He had a very colorful character. He was impulsive. I remember when Kakusitwa they say boating bengabafundi kuthiwe nanku Yesu, he was the first one to say yes Jonga ubangwe Jesus. Now remember, he has never seen anyone walking on water. Yes, that's an act of faith, but kukho nethamba lento yokubana ndifuna abantu bandibone. That's why esithi xa esefika pha athi xa esezibona uphezu kwamanzi and he's walking, he loses focus immediately. Hi man, I can do this thing, and Jesus had to remind him, no, unless you are connected to me. So he acted. We have husbands that are impulsive. We have leaders that are impulsive. But you wonder, this woman, I want to deal with. And secondly, he had inappropriate words. Peter was rude. Remember, it was the nature of fishermen. Fishermen. They will call you and interesting that this woman was dealing with that man. And it happens even in our times that thina simve emanzi mntshothi umuntu ethetha pha okanye aphulukwe sisimilo apha phambi kwethu sothuswe nje yilo incident, but there's this woman who is staying with him at home. And also, maybe lastly from my side, Peter was very arrogant and boastful. Remember when Jesus predicts his death, wayethe ndiza kunishiya nonke, and wama wathi mna so ndikushiye mna bangakushiya bonke ndawufaka ufa khona, in fact ndixolela ubulawa. And when Jesus says, before the cock crows, uzabe wena sewundiphike kathathu, uthi mna soze unotshe, uthi soze unotshe. So he had this arrogance. I remember naxa uyesu ebaxelela into yoba ndizawufa, wathi soze ufe wena yesu soze ufe, and this woman has to deal with such a character. This woman has to contain this animal.
You are saying she was serving in anonymity. And I want to believe that before we even go to the Bible, we all know them. The women that serve modestly. Abantu abahleliyo abathuleyo emakhaya. You will remember we were talking about Vekini, and you mentioned your mother.
Yeah.
And I was reminded of my grandmother. That woman was very graceful. And my grandfather was out there. Ingumntu wengqolo elalini kwaZuthi amkhulu more than umakhulu. But apha ekhaya njengoba sibayi-5 in total, xa siphaka izitya zifika ko-15.
Sure.
Because of my grandmother's influence. Because umntana ongenanto elalini uyi-problem yakhe. If kukho intswelo ekhayeni elithile yingxaki yakhe. So we had that home which was very warm because of my grandmother, but ayonto ithethwa kakhulu akangomntu uzohambisa ngaloo nto, but kuthiwa kulamzi kabani, mentioning my grandfather because of my grandmother. So we know those people in our society who stood firm, bezama ukwakha i-social cohesion, who were the centers of community development. Uba kuthiwa kufika into, they are the ones who are guardians of community development, people who were the hearts of their neighborhoods, knowing exactly what is going on in their neighborhoods and taking care of the needs of the people in their neighborhoods. We know those people. And for them, success meant working hard.
Sure.
It meant sacrificing for other people. It meant standing in solidarity with the poor and the dejected. So success did not mean what it means for us now. Things that excite us, they do not excite those women. They do not care about the niceties of this world, being top achievers. They don't care about those things. For them, it is being a warm, it is being even the limnand. That's what matters to them. And the unfortunate part of it is that even today, we don't really recognize those people. And I want to believe that it is because of the liabilities of the individualistic society that we have become. We focus so much on achievements of individual people, and we forget about the people that have created the conducive environment for those people to achieve those things. And today, when we talk about pastors' wives, we want to acknowledge that side. That as much as we have good pastors, good preachers, good elders, abadikona abalungileyo, right, who are serving the Lord faithfully, there are people who have created a conducive environment for them to be like that. There are people who stand firm behind them, who pray disruptive prayers behind them, who make sure that abakavarisha their weaknesses. You spoke of Peter's weaknesses, that he had a colorful character. But we know that even with our pastors and preachers, they have colorful characters. But you do not reveal the colorful character of your husband. You reveal the good side. Because we believe that we have our good sides, our bad sides, and our ambiguous sides. The sides that we cannot even explain to people. That they cannot explain about us. So you go there and package this husband ngale ndlela ifanelekileyo so that xa eme phambi kwabantu abe presentable, he's neat, he's presentable, and there is you behind. So we want to look at those things that are done. And then going to the Bible, you've mentioned that there are many women who were unknown. In fact, iBhayibhile xa ithetha ngabo amaxesha amaninzi ababizi ngamagama. It's a wife to, a prostitute, a woman at the well. A woman at the well. Ayithethi ngaba ababizi ngamagama, asiwazi amagama abo, but the impact that they have had in the gospel and in the salvation of men is very profound. So there are those women, ethetha ngabo, the woman who had an issue of blood. Asimazi bangubani, asazi into ingako ngaye, but we know that for 12 years she had an issue of blood. And iBhayibhile khange isihluphe nothetha igama lomuntu ebene issue of blood for 12 years. Surely uyaziwa. But that was not important. What was important was the message that uThixo delivered through that woman. And so some of the women that we are acknowledging today, uThixo bengafuna uzogqamisa bona, ebefuna uzodeliverisha messages through their husbands. Uzise these women, we know of them. There is another woman who was also unnamed, the woman at the 9.
Oh, you the widow of 9.
The widow of 9. There is that woman, and there's a woman who had 2 copper coins. Owanikela nge-coins. When the rich people were giving imali as serious, as bonakalayo, and the Bible does not tell us who this woman is. It's what she did. And today we are looking at such characters, the impact they have had. Bakhona eBhayibheleni. Bengenamagama banjalo, bakhona eBhayibheleni. We still talk about them. And we believe that these supportive women that are supporting our leaders today, they are doing something that will outlive them. Kohlala kusithiwa yayingumntana kabani lo. Kohlala kusithiwa yayilibandla ngonyaka othile kwakukho, because yazi bayifundisi bayazula. Amakhosikazi funeka atshintshe but ngonyaka othile ekwakukho umfundisi uMantini kwenzeka nale kwelibandla. We developed these policies ngonyaka othile kwakusenzeka into ethile. So we know that your service is not contained to today, but it will outlive you, because we've seen it in the Bible. Amaxesha amaninzi xa sibona into from the past, yes, Bonisba, future yetinjan. So we do not take you, pastors' wives, leaders' wives, for granted. But today we just want to zoom into the life of these remarkable women, and we call it a very experienced. What are some of the things that are happening around your space, the challenges that you face, the storms that you have to overcome, and even the battles that you fight on your own? And the challenges that you face dealing with us, because that
can be a handful. We can be a handful
dealing with us. So that's what we want to engage you about namhlanje. What are the things that you can share with abaphulaphuli bethu around your life?
Thank you, Tabi. You know, as I'm just listening to both of you share about these women and what role they play, I'm almost in tears, because you are describing exactly the role that a minister's wife plays. And I'm so grateful that, number one, uThixo nemamele to do such a show and this topic, and uThixo led you to me. Not that ndazi kangcono, but ikhona lento mhlawumbe uNkulunkulu afuna ivelile. Firstly, I think it's important uqala ngokuthi each and every one of us have our own journey. Umngqongo, when God created him, he had his journey that he will set him apart to do his ministry, to be employed fully to do his work. And the God that I know and serve plans ahead and was preparing Uzama somewhere in Durban, taking her through all the different experiences, so that when a time comes, mabeshada uNkulunkulu ezodlala indawo yakhe empilweni yakhe. So what sustains a minister's wife is a personal relationship with God. Ayikho enye into that sustains unkosikazi womfundisi. It's a personal, living, ongoing fellowship with God. And you get to understand ukuthi God prepared this journey even before I was born. Ndithi xa ndima phambi komama bomanyano. It's not normal for umama ona 83 athi kumama ona 40 mama. But God even prepares the people that he will send me to serve. So that is why I say a personal walk with God is the core. That is why you will find abefundisi abadala who have served God for years. But if it wasn't for this women, ngangengikwazi ukufika la uNkulunkulu ayifuna ngifike khona. Because the role that a minister's wife plays is very important. Now I want to believe that a minister's wife is chosen by God. And when God chooses this woman and prepares this woman for the journey azoyithatha, God equips this woman for everything azohlangana nayo. Whether it is dealing with a character. Remember now, ngumfundisi wami now. I eat and breathe whatever Mngongo preaches in that pulpit. And you will find me senthetha nawe Bongi or Tabi sandithi uMngongo ke wathi ngemini. And I'm talking about this because I'm talking about umfundisi wami. Obeke phambi kwami ukuthi ashumayele ilizwi likaNkulunkulu. Now there is another character at home. Eyaziwa ndim. And that character cannot be changed by uzana.
No.
Kunezinto ekufuneke ndizicele kuNkulunkulu ukuthi azilungise. Alungise mina qala. Because I'm not perfect. No Mngongo, I did not marry a perfect man. I married a man who is set apart to do the work of God. And therefore, when I say he's set apart, obviously the devil is ready to eat him alive. But it is through those prayers in that sacred place where I say, God, akadalwanga ndim umuntu. Udalwe nguwe. And zininzi izinto ofuna ezenzile enzele wena. Akazutshintshwa ndim, uzawutshintshwa nguwe. And you know, when you connect the dots, Bongi and Tabis, because you can only connect the dots going backwards. Uyawubona umsebenzi owenziwa uNkulunkulu kuwena nakuyena. Uyawubona umsebenzi uNkulunkulu awenze ebandleni. Esebenzisa wena, because God does not need us really to work for him. What's important is the work that God is doing within us. So that whatever he pours in me, I'm able to pour out to the people that he's sending me to do. So being a minister's wife is a blessing. Because God provides for you constantly. Umfica kwindawo, we move around and we see. Utuya kwindawo umfica uThixo kulindile. Engakulindanga kuphela, eprepare nalabantu. Utuhamba Bongi, you have destiny helpers on the way, so that lo mthwalo ophethe awukusindi kwabantu abakuthwalisayo. So she's a chosen woman. She's a special woman. She needs to be aware that she is chosen. And if she is aware that she's chosen, uyazola. Because now the other voices don't interrupt the main voice. Because you are constantly being led by God. This is what you're able to see things that sometimes ungangakwazi ukuzibona. Kanti umoya oyingcwele is speaking to you. And that's why God needs us to invest in our spiritual life, to invest in our love relationship with Him before we invest in the church. Because sometimes we are so busy with church activities, we think that we are doing what God has called us to do. Yonke le seminars ozenzayo, I'm not looking for that. Kunezinto endifuna ukukuhlebela zona because kukhona revival that I want to do through you. And kuthiwa a pastor's wife is anointed, sometimes even more than a pastor, because she is the one who preaches to the pastor at home. Makathi umngqonge ethulula kwi-congregation
6 days
yaseKing. Abonkulunkulu ekade ndithe ndingena e-309 emnyango ndithi Thixo apha makubuse wena. Let it not be. Makukhule wena kunciphe thina. Thatha indawo yakho. Thatha indawo yakho. And so we are grateful for the journey. Imagine, we are grateful for the journey.
Wow. The time now is 7:36. I just want to acknowledge we have a number of gentlemen that are joining us this evening. Kubanele Kamkhwanazi, thank you so much for the love. Uloiso Mbuwako. Yes, Mbuwako. And there is also Uyo Limbatani, Nongaba Tuswa, Upuqaphela, Siyama Ngcola, no Ane. And you know, as you are speaking, Zama, I want to believe there is a level of sacrifice that you go through. That you go through. Okokuqala, you have your dreams as a person. You have your ambitions. But uzofumana uzakusahlela lapha eMonti ithi wisile mamela ngqoko sifuna ukubeka kucendana. Now the adjusting from East London to a remote area, the sacrifice, you know, and that's what I want us to talk about. Number one, and reflect on how it affects your parenting duties, both of you to your children. You know, ufumanisa udada uyovela. You know, uyovelela abantu abangaphilanga uzawubuya mhlamba abantwana sebelele ufumanisa abantwana baya esikolweni ekseni bayawulala utata bengambonanga. And I've discovered that, even though we're not talking about pastors' kids, but I've discovered that for many of the pastors' kids, ibenze ba resentful of the ministry. And I want to believe in Dokbana uThixo nibeke strategically so that ngeli xesha umngqongo abhizana siyaxoxa uba sizawumane simention umngqongo sinenkosikazi kamngqongo asizomention umuntu asingathethi ngaye, but we are just creating a case study. They've allowed themselves to be a case study because I want to believe into yobana ngeli xesha umngqongo ahambisa indaba eyo shepherd as a shepherd, you are left with another responsibility as well to ensure that these children are not lost. These children marvel at the Christ that is being served by God. These children don't curse God, but you know, how do you ensure that you instill that whilst you are in support of Umong? Because another thing is especially with the young wives, I disown the ministry. You know, and ufumanisa fine eye, there definitely has to be a very thin line there, because I do nezinto zonke. You know, I do with the responsibilities that my husband is given. You know, even in terms of how he relates to abantu. And I know for a fact most of the time, you know, nasezinkonzweni asikuboni sitsibela umfundisi wethu sithi ngenye ixesha siqomba noba sikubulisana because sifuna ubulisa umfundisi wethu. And you said something profound that iyakwazi intambiso ukuba kuwe. Ufumanise uba the anointing is more on you than him. And how do you ensure that? Because into ebuhlungu is that once umuntu akunika i-advice okanye akunika i-counsel, they want recognition and acknowledgement. Ufumanise into yoba niyayithetha nomngqongo le nto apha endlini, niyithethe mhlawumbi ningovani ngayo, uqonda uba uyamyeka. Afike phaa ecaweni athi bandla uThixo undibonise umbono. uThixo undibonise umbono apha. Uthi xa umamela lo mbono uqonda jini lo mbono kodwa hayi nokuthi uThixo bewunike mna, you know. And how do you ensure you balance that, you know, without trying to fight and fight for sport, you know. I think it should be a tricky one.
Thank you, Bongi. You are touching on something that is very true. You talk about sacrifice, firstly. Yes, it is a sacrifice. And it's important you look at it. Who are you sacrificing for?
Yeah.
Because, like I said, you have your own journey. I do believe that I'd be far, mhlawumbe, in terms of careers and what if I wasn't married to umfundisi, where we moved from one place to the other. But I'm fulfilled with the fact that God has taken care of every need of mine by just following him. Not following umngqongo and where the church takes me, but following him.
Okay.
You know, I was chatting to Udlamini just before I came here, ekhuluma about what is currently happening ebandleni laseQonce 309. Ngathi kuye Dlamini, I have learned to not want to go where I want to go, but go where God wants to take us.
Okay.
Because if I go eCentani and uThixo undifuna ndisecentani, izinto ezizawukwenzeka eCentani will be beyond. Because my God will be waiting for me there. I know ministers, wife who have lived the best life before bachate nabefundisi, and they are put in missions house where the roof is leaking. Into angayazi. Kodwa namhlanje, as young as they are, bathi I'm fulfilled. So it depends how you look at it. Who is the sacrifice for? Is it for umngqongo or is it for the church? Yes, I do not want to take it for granted that sometimes I do not become myself and say, as umngqongo, I feel we're living your life now.
Like you want to blow your tantrums now.
Because why are we going there and we're supposed to be there? But deep down inside of me, I know that God is doing that. Secondly, there are ministers who say ngibizwe mina apha. Baze basho kwi-congregation boldly. And luckily for me, ndike ndithi if kuya ngomngqongo mhlambe ngabe ndihlala eCangwa Obama, that's how much he believes in me. And I don't see it. But what he sees in me is more than what I see in myself. And therefore it makes it easier. Ukuthi we do not compete. We complement each other. Kandi say king and umngqongo is boldly saying umbono wami unyanisile. If uthethwe ndim endlini bekuthunywe mina ubanda uthethe kuye ngowakhe kodwa ngowakhe.
In fact
ngokaThixo. So it doesn't take anything away from me, because yona mission kaThixo iyenzeka whether or not it is from me or umngqongo. But there are cases we cannot run away from that and paint a picture.
A glamorous picture.
There are cases where ministers' wives have sacrificed so much and it has not been worth it. God is got a purpose for each and every one of us. And uNkulunkulu at every moment in our lives, he is doing umsebenzi phakathi thina. And sometimes ministers get excited by the compliments of the congregation and the things that are happening, that they want to leave the wife behind. Bacimba amandla lawa sebenzayo. And not knowing that if only you knew, the minute you think all the changes, God is sitting back and saying, let me watch. So there are ministers who have been so excited about being put in the pedestal that they do not understand that as I am lifted, I lift my wife with me. And you see even how a congregation treats unkosikazi kamfundisi, because they are looking at how umfundisi treats unkosikazi wakhe. So now they are feeding off the energy kamfundisi. Ubona ukuthi unkosikazi womfundisi akasenayo le respect ebandleni. Uphinde waye ebantwaneni. It's true. Abantwana babefundisi end up hating ministry because they feel that sometimes the father, sometimes even the mother is more involved in the ministry than they are. And so they are competing with the ministry. And uNkulunkulu akayidalanga kanjalo. You know John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist Church, Tiwa uma wakhe uSusan was intentional about teaching them about God at a very young age. And therefore uZimfefe wami ayibona uMngqonge nxibe ikhola, he knows that my father has been set apart to do God's work. And therefore my mom needs to be intentional ukuvutisa isiguqo sasekhaya. uZimfefe andithi xa ngithandaza Bongi, your introduction was about that. Ukuthi ingane zethu ayisasizwa ukuthi sikhuluma kanjani masikhuluma noNkulunkulu. But Zimfefe, because when I pray for uMngqongo ndithi Nkosi yami ngicela umkhaphe, this and it from head to toe. Usathana angayitholi indawo empilweni. uZimfefe is praying the prayers that I pray. And therefore we get our kids involved in that. Guys, we are a special family. God has chosen us to send his gospel. And therefore, if I do not teach my kids to pray, even for our ministry, then the kids will be upset. They'll feel neglected. And God has given me the freedom of time where I'm able to watch my kids play soccer. I'm able to be there when uMngqongo can't be there. And I know that, listen, if uMngqongo could be here, he would be here. But uNkulunkulu unike mina isikhathi sokuthi ngiye kule ndawo ney'ngane zami and come back and say, yazi Mngqongo, actually I think uZimfefe is a good, uZenande is a good soccer player. uZiyana likes this and that. But get him involved in the kid's life by telling him, this is what's happening. To know they said this and that. Wow, you know. So that's where it is. There is a sacrifice involved. We cannot take that away. But as a mother, whether ungumfundisikazi or you a woman whose husband is a businessman, whose husband is, your responsibility is that ekhaya ingane mazazane noNkulunkulu, zingahlangani naye ku-Sunday school or kwi-assembly ecaweni.
Yeah, you know, you've mentioned quite a number of interesting things. It's just that I would have wanted to engage you more. You mentioned the issue of being intentional when we're dealing with our kids. And I want to believe that the aim of this generation of ours is to be the type of parents that we wanted in our generation.
Yeah.
So we want to be those parents to our kids. That's why you are raising the issue of children, that those children who ended up resenting the church ingaphinde yenzeke loo nto in the next generation. So we are trying to say to the young wives, to the ministers, to the leaders, be the type of parents that you needed in your generation, so that we can change the narrative. So that we can change the status quo. And also, you spoke of the fact that umama umfundisi uyazola. And I thought of so many distractions that we encounter. There are so many things that disturb us. Enkonzweni, there are so many things ezibangela uba abantu bathi andenziwa kanjalo. Mna ndiyintombi kabani. And you are saying, in spite of it all, umama umfundisi okanye a wife to a leader uyazola because ulinde i-guidance kuYesu. Asizikhokheli ngokwethu, sikhokhelwa nguYesu. We've seen so many people in the past taking things to social media, taking things to the media, not solving things with their congregations or their pastors or their husbands because they feel that they want to be heard. We are not silencing anyone, but ndibambe nje le ndawo ethi uyazola. You know, I've noticed something about ukuzola uhleli kuYesu. Ndanotice ukuthi kuyakulwela amadaba akho xa isithula andawukulwela. Wazi ndikuthixo akaphosisi. I've seen him fighting many battles. Ndivale umlomo. So I know that uthixo uyawalwa amadaba ingana naxa utshate nomuntu who is in a powerful position. You must know that amanye amadabi awafuni ubuyintombi kabani. Afuna idolo. Afuna uYesu, he is capable. He will fight those battles. And lastly, you spoke about the challenges that you guys have, and also the fact that in spite of all those challenges, there is fulfillment in what you are doing. And I believe that the fulfillment comes from the fact that I think we are here to serve God and to serve humanity. And when you are doing both of those things uninterrupted, sozungabikho fulfilled, sozungabikho content. Noba sowujongene uyafana noPawulos esithi I have run a good race. So ujongene nokufa emehlweni uqonda uba nikoyiki ukuface with bravery because you have lived your purpose. Xa uphilela abantu, you are living your purpose. It can never be a waste of time. That's why uzothi besithethile ekuqaleni about the anonymous people who did not care about being the first black pilots, being the first neurosurgeons. Khange bakhathalele loo nto. They cared about being community builders, being the person who will be there xa kusithiwa emzini wakwabani kuswelekiwe. And for them, that was enough. We cannot ask or expect more from those people. And lastly, because I want to pay a tribute to all the wives, to the leaders. And there is something beautiful written by Melanie Moses, which I thought would be suitable for today. If you are a wife to a leader, to a pastor, to a minister, even to a leader kwi-positions zaseburhulumenteni nakwi-organizations ezinkulu, if you are a wife to a leader, this is for you. More especially to people that are leading in churches, because our focus today is for leaders abasezinkonzweni. We say to you, thank you for loving our pastors and our leaders. Thank you for supporting them and for walking this tough and often lonely road with them. We are saying thank you for caring for us, for praying for us, for being a source of inspiration and encouragement to us. Today we are saying thank you for everything that you do behind the scenes to knit the churches together. We are saying thank you for being a great example of balanced marriage, mothering and ministry. Thank you for being brave in the face of adversity. Today we want to say thank you for celebrating our successes with us, for celebrating our wins with us. Thank you for all the hours you put in organizing, in planning, in coordinating our programs and our events for our spiritual growth. Thank you for loving and nurturing our children. Thank you for giving your time and resources to sacrifice without expecting anything in return. Thank you for the grace you portray always. Thank you for your genuineness, for your warmth, for your warm embrace, and for your smiles. And lastly, we want to say thank you for being patient. Thank you for listening to us when we're facing our own trials, knowing that you're also facing your own trials, but you take time to listen to us. Thank you for sharing your husband with the whole congregation. Thank you for accepting the unwavering dedication to the work of the ministry. Thank you for following the voice of the Lord. You said you follow the voice of the Lord. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for working with your husband. Thank you for being slow to judge, for being slow to criticize, for always choosing to focus on the positive things. And so thank you for navigating such an unpredictable life that you live, with an unpredictable schedule, navigating it with flexibility and skill. Thank you for being strong. Thank you for being beautiful in spite of it all. And thank you for being courageous. And today we want to salute you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chibasa. Thank you so much, Madlamini. We are grateful to God for such for calling you at such a time as this. And ngenene buchilo wati ngutiko that is put on the anointing wakuketa too. And we want to say to every woman out there that Utabisa was paying homage to, that God sees, even if you are not mentioned, but God knows you. Even if you think people do not see you, God sees you. And ucho apa usiro uyacho into yokubana we are called, I want to read this, we are called to minister to the called. So it stood out for me in the manner, before we can hear the powerful ministers, they are being ministered to for 6 full days by you. And that is a profound responsibility that God has bestowed upon you. There's Upingi Tubula who's appreciating you. Uti, oh, powerful mama wetu. And really you have been such a powerhouse, Madlamin. Uti Uyonela, she's in PE. Uti a shepherdess that understands her assignment. May God continue to bless her and family and the ministry. So abantu bazisa, you know, intsikelelo engumangaliso, so that when you think you are working in anonymity, when you think you are not recognized, uthixo kubizileyo. I think it captures my attention that kufuneka uhlale ukhumbula into yokubana ubizwe nguThixo. So even the sacrifices that you are doing, you are not doing them for anyone, you are doing them for God. So siyambulela uThixo, ukhona unyame kaMqamelo, ukhona usesamphutha, ukhona noNombulelo Ashe. Thank you for such a special program. And really, may God fight your battles, you know. And we are going to pray. We want to pray for all the ministers' wives, for all the wives of the leaders, for, you know, to say that hang in there, uthixo uyanibona. If you cry tears, cry them to God, because He has called you and placed you, you know, wanenza into yokubana niphathe to the responsibility that He has given to your husband, and more especially that allow Him to prune your character. So that at the end of it all, you know, abantu may find favor. Because oftentimes abantu bayamenyelisa uThixo because of our. And I'm going to ask us to close our eyes, and present you ladies unto God. Nkosi yethu ethandekayo ehlala ekhaya ezulwini, sifuna ukukubulela for this opportunity to come at your feet this evening. Siziva Nkosi sibancinci ukuza sizisa abantwana bakho abanoxanduva olungaka moya oyingcwele. Kodwa sibulela such grace. Sibulela Nkosi yami such tenderness, sibulela such love moya oyingcwele, obanika such patience Nkosi elungileyo. Continue to add on and fill their cups until they overflow Nkosi elungileyo. Balwela amadaba bajongene nawo moya oyingcwele, balwela izinto Nkosi abangekaziboni, balungisa thina Nkosi as the congregants, so that bafike kuthi Nkosi singumhlaba othambileyo for them to serve you, ukuze ngenye imini bangaliqalekisa igama lakho Nkosi elungileyo, for allowing you Thixo unothanda ukubabeka kwezi ndawo bakuso. Nanku uzama in a special way moya oyingcwele. You know her ukusuka nokuhlala. You know her family ngomngqongo. You know their children. Bless them. Cover them. They are incoming and they are outgoing. Kwindawo abanyathela kuzo makubonakale Nkosi ethandekayo uba bahamba nawe. Balwele ke Nkosi ethandekayo izabatho ngendawo. You know the devil fashions weapons. Help Nkosi ethandekayo so that those weapons may not prosper moya oyingcwele. We dedicate the ministers' wives. We dedicate the elders' wives. We dedicate abantwana bakho we have sacrificed Nkosi ethandekayo izinto ezinobutepu Nkosi that they could be enjoying. Kodwa Nkosi bakhetha to be set apart. Bavuma Nkosi ethandekayo uba basebenzele wena kwixesha elinjena. Banika amandla emandleni ke moya oyingcwele. Uhlala ubafukama ubazimase njengesiqu sakho sikamoya oyingcwele moya oyingcwele. Ukuze Thixo unothanda kwizinto zonke abazenzayo bayazi into yokubana kuhlala kugqame wena moya oyingcwele. We place their congregations before you Thixo unothanda so that they may deal graciously with them moya oyingcwele. Ze kuthi xa usathana Nkosi ethandekayo efuna ukuveza ii-traits zopetrose kubo uzicumze ngokwakho moya oyingcwele. Ungavumi into yokubana kubhenceke izimilo zabo Nkosi ethandekayo. Cover them Thixo unothanda. Uncakamize ulwimi labo uhlala uhleli ke moya oyingcwele. Uhlale nakwi-brain cells up so that as they plan for our spiritual nourishment, you may continue to feed them smakati because they cannot pour from an empty cup. Basikelele ke Thixo unothanda. Ubafihle, ubathamsanqelise, uxolele ubugwenxa babo ngenxa kaYesu siyakuthandaza. Amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, abaphulaphula emakhaya, thank you so much for joining us. It was such an emotional day. It was such a profound day. And we trust that you were blessed. Ngokuba sibe khona emakhaya. Continue to join us next week, same time, same place from the altar at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. The time now is 8 p.m. And may God bless you. May you have a good evening and may you have a lovely week. May you enter into the week usazi into yokuba ubanjwe wagcinwa sisandla sikaYehova. Enkosi ngokuba nisivumele into yokuba sithethe kunye nani. Have a good evening. God bless you. Good night.
Good night. You guys.